Hey guys, I'm doing my coolant system right here. As we can see, we got a 2014 BMW 328i here, which has a N20 engine. So let's start it. First, I will talk about the expansion tank or the coolant reservoir here. As we can see, we have this reservoir here. And of course, there will be the pressure cap on top. What the pressure cap does is it's holding the pressure in the coolant system, which maintain it pressurized. And the pressure in the coolant system makes up the boiling point. So, as we can see, there will be a coolant hose down underneath the coolant reservoir, connected to the electric water pump, which will be the metal housing down there. I'm gonna use my screwdriver, point it to that housing there. That would be the electric water pump. So what the water pump does is it makes the flow in the coolant system. So it makes the coolant flows into the engine. Then the coolant can transfer all the heat from the engine. So when we talk about this electric water pump, so this one here is not driven by the belt. It's actually driven by electric motors. On the other side of the electric water pump, we got another hose, which is connected to the cylinder block. That hose there, I'm gonna use the screwdriver again, point at it, so it will be that boy, and then it goes into the cylinder block. As the coolant goes into the cylinder, there will be some water jacket inside the cylinder block. Allows the coolant to travel through it, brings all the heat, and then it will goes to the head, the cylinder head. And the coolant will bring more heat from there. Eventually, it goes out from this side, which you can see that's our upper rack hose right here. So this will be the upper rack hose, and also we have a overflow hose here, which connected back to the expansion tank, which tells us this will be a overflow type coolant system. When we talk about the upper rack hose, there will be actually one more hose down here. That's the heater cord hose, the inlet heater cord hose, which travel all the way to there. Sorry, that's feeling my hand. Will be there. One is for inlet, the other one is for outlet. I'm gonna use my screwdriver again. So inlet and then outlet, inlet, outlet. What that hose does is it brings all the coolants in there, and then through the heater cord, makes the heat for the cabin. Okay, let's go back to this side. So we can see the upper rack hose is connected to the radiator. Also, we got a radiator here. What the radiator does is the hot coolant travel through the upper rack hose, goes in there through all this vines and the tube. What it does is the coolant goes through here, and then it does the radiation to the surrounded area around the radiator, to cool it down. After the coolant is cooled down, it goes out from the lower rack hose, which is connected to the thermostat right here. Let me grab my light. That would be the thermostat housing. And for this thermostat housing, what it does, is when the engine is still cold, it will be closed, so it allows the coolant circulating in the engine in order to warm up the car quicker to reach the operating temperature. It regulates the coolant so the car will heat up faster, and also it kind of restricts the coolant flow, so the coolant will have more time inside the cylinder to bring all the heat out to make the engine more efficiency. So on this side of the thermostat, we have two coolant hoses. One will be the bypass to the cylinder head, and also one is connected to the water pump down there. What it does, like I said, when the thermostat was closed, the coolant travel from the cylinder head, goes in here, but then it's closed, so it goes down to the water pump, and then the water pump generates it, and then it goes into the cylinder block again. So yep, that's pretty much all the hose. Then I'm gonna talk about the location of the coolant temperature sensor, which will be located on the cylinder head right here, on top of the bypass hose. Let's see what else I got here. Identify the leak point of this coolant system. So in this coolant system here, of course the leak point, I will start it on the radiator. As we can see, because radiator is easy to damage, all this wine and tube are made by aluminum, so if it cracked or broken, it's gonna start leaking coolant. Also to this side, I will say all this hose, we need to look at it, because usually hose could be a point that coolant easily leak out, and we have a lot here. All this hose and the clamps, after years and years, rubbers can get cracking. And also, it's quite common that this bypass here has a fringe. This fringe is leaking point too. It's pretty common on this engine. Okay, that's pretty much the coolant system in this car. Next, I'm gonna identify the next I'm gonna identify the coolant system problems. So if the thermostat was completely seized shut, then of course we will have a overheating problem. Because what happen is the coolant keeps circulating in the cylinder. It can travel through the radiator because the thermostat was closed. And then what happened will be the temperature will be super high on the engine, and then the radiator probably just gonna just be warm. it's not gonna be super hot because the coolant can travel to the radiator. What if a thermostat was slightly open? So what happened will be a little flow of coolant can travel through the radiator and then go back to the cylinder. It might be okay if you're just driving in a normal road, but when you have heavy load or you're going like uphill, down, uphill, the engine will start overheating because that slightly open thermostat can allow all the coolant travel through it. So what happened will be the engine will start overheating. Next, I would say be the thermostat C is fully open. So when the thermostat is fully open, the coolant will keep traveling through the upper hose, through the radiator, to the lower hose. What happened will be the car might not have enough heat for the cabin. And also, it will take long time to warm up the car, and it might not reaching the operating temperature of the engine. Summertime might be okay, but when wintertime, you might not feel any heat at all in the cabin. Last one will list the condition of a Volkswagen plastic water pump impeller not turning. What happened is, for Volkswagen, the impeller is all made by plastic, and then the shaft for the water pump is actually made by metal. When it spins years by year, eventually the plastic crack. And what happened will be the shaft will keep spinning, but can't generate any flows in the coolant system. And yep, that's pretty much all for this rubric. And for the bonus part, I'm gonna describe the coolant fan system and also the coolant fan relay on this car.